Good morning, everyone, and good afternoon to people in other time zones. I'm Steve Farrell, the Worldwide Executive Director for Humanities Team, and welcome to this Oneness and 12 Spheres of Life call. It's great to be with you. As you know, Anna Marie Peters and I host these monthly calls. Anna Marie is based out of Pretoria, South Africa. And Anna Marie, do you want to just come in real quick to say hi here as we're getting started?
Absolutely. Hi, everyone. Great to be here.
Okay, and you're going to hear a lot more from Anna Marie shortly. And, of course, this month our focus is health. Our special guest is Dr. Deborah Rozman, a founding executive director of HeartMath Institute and a key spokesperson for HeartMath and the HeartMath system around the world. We'll be introducing Deborah Rozman shortly. We're all very excited about today's program. We have about 20,000 registered for today's call. Some cannot listen in live, so we send out a recorded link so these people can listen in later. Thank you so much, everyone, for prioritizing time to be here for this important conversation. As always, this call is interactive with each of you, our listeners, so we want to invite you to go ahead and put your questions now in the question window on Instant Teleseminar. I promise we'll get to at least a few of your questions during the hour. You might go ahead and begin sharing in that window now. A little about Humanities Team as we get started. In Humanities Team, we see there is only one presence, the divine, and see we are all offspring and expressions of the divine. This means God's love, light, grace, and peace are ours because there is no separation and we share the same essence. Since our founding in 2003, we've done our best to live as one with the divine, each other, and our earth home. We don't need to be perfect. It doesn't have to feel heavy. We must only do our best, and we can actually have fun with this, as we'll demonstrate on today's call. When we talk about oneness with the divine, of course, this is true for all of life, not just humanity. This has repercussions for how we see ourselves, others, and the earth that is our home. This means everyone and everything is sacred and should be treated as such. It also means we're responsible for the world around us because, in truth, it's part of our authentic self, encompassing the whole of the earth. Perhaps there's nothing more important than this, coming to see ourselves as a cell in the body of the divine, the earth, and stepping into a role where we're caring for the earth and the world that we live in. This is our focus in Humanities Team. If you resonate with our work, we invite you to go to humanitiesteam.org, our website, and reach out to us about projects that you'd like to be involved in. Okay, before we begin our program, my co-host, Anna Marie Peters, is going to introduce herself more fully and her role in Humanities Team, and then tell you about the sphere that we're focusing on this month. And over to you, Anna Marie.
Thank you, Steve. Yes, a warm hello from me again, everyone. It is my privilege to be here with you all again today, as always. As Steve said, I have been serving in Humanities Team for a long time, well, actually since 2005, as a full-time volunteer, and I have been involved with many of our global projects, but in particular, in this instance, with our Oneness in 12 Spheres of Life initiative, co-leading with Steve. And I'm also the country coordinator for Humanities Team here in South Africa. So many of you may know or may have heard of Ubuntu, the ancient African gift of oneness to the world, as I like to refer to it, that is best known through the definition, I am because we are. On a core and personal level, I see myself as an advocate and an activist for Ubuntu. And I see myself as a catalyst for Ubuntu as she continues to reveal herself to me and blossoms in and through me as the ultimate truth and realness of life. I'm truly blessed to be part of the growing community involved with the reclaiming and living of our Ubuntu here in South Africa and in the world. It is always wonderful to gather around the heart and where the universal law of love is at play. It gives me great pleasure to be part of this discussion today and to learn about HeartMath together with all of you. So with that, I can go straight into the overview of this sphere. Right, so essentially, the sphere of health deals with the vitality, well-being, and the wholeness of living systems. Through the deeply entrenched Western approach to health, scientists and their findings have come to be seen as and respected for being the utmost independent and autonomous authority on what it means to be real when it comes to health. Scientists have come to be seen as standing separate from their experiment and from their patients. And in order to remain professional, doctors are taught to keep emotional distance from their patients. But quantum science today states that by the very act of watching, the observer affects his or her observed reality, which confirms that the scientist is never separate from his or her observation or the doctor from his patient. And since this is so, we can now ask some very interesting and important questions, such as, who is the healer and who is being healed? And what does the statement, all healing is self-healing, mean? With the help of quantum view on life and with the help of technology, we are living in the times during which we as humans are more and more able to see how what is happening inside of our bodies is directly affected by our environment, including our thoughts and consciousness. When we look at the question of health through the lens of oneness, we do so from the premise that although we have physical bodies, we are not our bodies. We are spirit having a human experience. When we look through the lens of oneness, we become conscious of the deeply embedded networks, systems, and chains that are involved in all dimensions of life. As we begin to dissolve the borders, we witness greater appreciation for holistic, allopathic, alternative, and complementary approaches to health. We observe research becoming more grounded in experience and relating more and more to comprehensive and integrative models of human psychology and consciousness. All of this including more and more the enduring and effective elements of complementary as well as conventional medicine whilst launching something completely new. In the oneness model of healing, personal relationships, emotions, meaning, and belief systems are seen as fundamental points of connection between body and mind, spirit, society, and nature, and so on, with medicine embracing the recognition of human, emotional, spiritual, and relational dimensions. But we have a long way to go still. Aspects of emotion, experience, spirituality, and relations are unfortunately by far not considered when it comes to human breakdown. Most of this remains ignored, sidelined, and silenced as breakdown is mainly considered as a scientifically proven illness, with power, money, and the authority of big pharma playing a big role. Since the physical quality of life of society is a mirror of our emotional quality and consciousness, the healing of this sphere is of utmost importance. And shifting this sphere will have dramatic impact on society as a whole and in all spheres of life. And with that overview, thank you, and over to you, Steve.
Thank you so much, Anna Marie. What a powerful way to get started. Thank you so much for sharing that description of the sphere we're focusing on this month, health. Okay, let me take you through our agenda here briefly, and then I'm going to introduce our special guest. Next, I will introduce our special guest, Dr. Deborah Rozman. Then I'll briefly interview Deborah. Then we'll create an interactive panel discussion where Deborah Rozman and Anna Marie Peters will both be involved in the discussion. Then I'm going to bring in your questions that have already started coming in. Thank you. We'll get to several of your questions here during the hour. And then before closing, I'll share about some coming programs that you don't want to miss. Okay, let's get started, and please do get comfortable here as we get going. I'm now going to introduce our special guest. Dr. Deborah Rozman is a psychologist, president, and CEO of HeartMath, Inc., and the HeartMath parent company, Quantum Intech, which oversees strategic alliances and the expansion of HeartMath technologies internationally. Deborah Rozman is founding executive director of HeartMath Institute and a key spokesperson for HeartMath and the HeartMath system around the world. Along with helping develop, oversee, and conduct HeartMath training programs since its inception in 1991, she has 30 years of experience as an entrepreneur, business executive, educator, and author. Rozman gives media interviews and keynote addresses worldwide. She has appeared in documentary films, telesummits, major magazines, and on major U.S. television networks and internationally syndicated radio programs. Besides authoring a dozen books herself, including the award-winning Meditating with Children, Rozman co-authored the 5-book Transforming series with HeartMath founder Doc Childare. She is a regular columnist with the Huffington Post. Rozman covers a range of topics in her speaking engagements and presentations, key among them the heart's role in stress management, resilience, health, and performance, heart coherence technology, and the current shift in global consciousness. Welcome to the Oneness and 12 Spheres of Life program, Deborah. It's great to have you with us.
Thank you, Stephen. It's always great to connect with you and to be part of Global Oneness programs.
Well, we just really enjoy having you with us. We've all been looking forward to this program, and of course, you've been part of Global Oneness Day and the Living in Oneness Summit for several years now, and gosh, we've got a bunch of questions, so I think I'll just jump right in here, Deborah. As well, we've got questions coming in from listeners. Thank you for that. We'll be sure to get to your questions here, listeners, that you're already beginning to put in the window. Okay, during the course of today's discussion, we'll be able to go into some interesting things about the heart, how it works, what it has to do with our brain and our emotions, and the scientific questions around this. You have been involved in this for the past 30 years or so. Is there anything in particular that you'd like to share about this as we begin?
Given our audience here, I think the most important thing to share from my heart, and that is not metaphorical, and I'll be explaining why, is when I came to the realization many years ago that the heart is not just a metaphor for love, it's actually a transmitter of it, as all the poets and sayings go, and knowing in myself that there are two of us inside everybody, and when they're aligned, we're connected with spirit, soul, source. And when they're not aligned and that separation is there, then our feelings, emotions, and our thoughts and mind, our heart and brain really are not in sync. And I was teaching in psychology, behavioral psychology, a group, and I had them talk to their head by sitting on a pillow, pretending they were their heart, talking to their head, and then switch roles and be their head talking to their heart, and it was two different people. And this happened over and over, and when they went back and forth, finally they came together as a oneness, and it was really sinking in the heart, and I could see that their heart and mind were now aligned. And when I met Doc Childrey, the founder of HeartMath, and he started talking about the intelligence of the heart, I just knew that was what was happening, but he wanted to research it and form an institute to find out what the pathways and connections were between spirit, heart, brain, nervous system, body, and the implications that had for consciousness, for health, and for the global shift that he knew stress would be increasing and the help people would need. And so that's how I got involved, and it's been an incredible adventure and discovery process, both scientifically and internally and with other people since then, since 1991.
Wow, and you've, of course, HeartMath has played such a huge role, true for you and, of course, Deborah and the founder, other co-founder of HeartMath, also Dr. Childrey, that you wanted to focus on the research, as you say, of the heart, the brain, of consciousness, and but bringing it back to something so pure, where I love the way you said it's really that there are two of us, and the spirit and ourselves, and when we're in a place of integration, then spirit is informing everything we're doing, and when we're not, then we don't have that alignment.
Right.
That is beautiful. What a pure mission, and then but bringing in the research and science piece has really been a huge thing for people. So many people read your books, they follow your research, and are involved in your work. Yeah, so I just want to acknowledge you for that, Deborah.
Well, thank you. Thank you. You know, Doc Childrey, he's really the founder, and I'm one of probably still 30 people here who helped him start the Institute as a team, and we're still involved in various aspects of the HeartMath mission, and we all resonated with that same frequency. He was saying he had a vision that basically showed him where and this was in the 70s, where the planet was headed, both in terms of stress and the higher consciousness potential, and that the shift had to be a shift from head to heart, which is where we experience oneness and interconnection, and the heart being the heart chakra, the heart center, a trunk line for our access to spirit. And he was told in this vision that the shift is needed to have some science behind it, a simple system of tools and techniques for people, regardless of belief system, without needing rituals, regardless of religion, how to truly access that intuitive guidance that is available in everyone's heart once our heart and brain is aligned, but they needed to have some science under it, just be another philosophy coming out of California, so to speak. And
right. The left coast, as they like to call it.
Right. And so that's really what was the inspiration for this adventure.
Well, okay, I've got so many questions I'm going to get to.
Okay.
I'm going to bring in Anna Marie here shortly, too. But now in business, Deborah, how does this play? Because as you know, I'm a business person by background. My whole career was business until I came over to humanities team. And so where we talk about really coming from the heart, and not the head, that's a shift right there. I think maybe you were talking about this a little earlier, how you do it, where you said first you were on a pillow, you talked to them from a place of head, then talked to them from a place of heart, and then you brought it together. Is that how you do it?
Not in business, no. That's how I do it in one-on-one or group psychology, or when I'm actually have my hat on as a psychologist, helping people with come to their own heart intelligence and realization. In business, we approach it completely differently, and in actually most of our work in our HeartMath training programs, we work and very intentionally started to work in the mainstream society once our research showed a lot of important information about the heart and how the heart and brain operate. And so we work with all 4 branches in the military. We work with hospital systems from Kaiser to the VA hospitals to Walter Reed, and many more. We work in corporations with, the one Boeing, with Lockheed. I mean, real, you might call them, regular street companies. And when we go into organizations, or like here in Silicon Valley where there's a lot of engineers, or Cisco, or all of them, when they bring us in because they want the stress management training or optimal performance training or resilience building because they're all burning out. And we go in with that and talk about the research first, how the heart and brain and nervous system, that we can get them in sync, and how the signals from the heart affect our brain centers that are involved in strategic thinking and self-regulation and intuition. So we take them through the science of heart and brain fitness in terms of how the pathways and how they communicate or how stress disrupts that. And then we go into techniques and tools to how to get in sync and aligned, and how we can then find more flow, which is what executives want. So it's all through the years learning how to shape the message to the people in terms of where they're at and what they need to help them connect more with their heart.
Yes, boy, we get that. And, of course, you're a founding signatory of the Conscious Business Declaration. We were talking about that a little bit just before the call. And in our curriculum where we're training practitioners in conscious business, this is a key thing, talking to people from where they sit. There are lots of fine lines. So interesting, and I can see how that would be an approach that would work well, getting to flow as you share. I'm sure that's something that's exciting to Silicon Valley and business people in general. Well, let's get I want to turn to some other things that I wanted to be sure that we got to. This book that recently came out, Heart Intelligence, Connecting with the Intuitive Guidance of the Heart. Can you tell us a little about that book, Deborah?
Yeah, it's actually the first HeartMath book in 10 years. So it's a long time in deciding to put it out, but it's the first time that we've actually tried in the simplest language to take our research over the last 20 years, not all of it, but just some of the key points, and talk about the role of the heart and why the heart's an intelligence system, and how heart intelligence really is what creates a coherent partnership between heart and mind, and that it's really the next unfoldment of what people have called emotional intelligence. And because it's where we're connected with our higher intelligence, spirit, higher dimensional energies, through that trunk line and pathway of the heart, how do we get the flow from higher dimension through the heart to the brain, to the mind, to intuitive guidance that we experience? And so picture heart intelligence as a flow of awareness, understanding, and intuitive guidance that we experience when the mind and emotions are brought into coherent alignment with the heart. And we also look at heart intelligence as this process steps down the power of love from universal source into our moment-to-moment interactions, our life's interactions, in practical, approachable ways, which inform us of a straighter path to our fulfillment. So it's a pathway, and so we talk about the research, we talk about the shift that's happening on the planet, more people, waking up to the heart, and the power of the heart, and that intelligence of the heart to help us actually, in that alignment, have more power to release the struggle of quieting the mind, to become still, to connect with that deeper part of ourselves and the interconnectedness with each other. Because one of the things we found in research, which I think is so powerful, and of course it's been confirmed by other research institutes as well, is that when we're feeling love, care, compassion, kindness, the qualities of spirit that every religion talks about, forgiveness, the qualities of heart, our actual physical heart rate variability, our heart rhythms move into a very smooth sine wave-like pattern called coherent waveform. And that actually is a coherent state, and the heart is so powerful that when it moves into that waveform, it entrains the brain waves. The heart signals the brain, and it creates cortical facilitation all the way to the frontal lobes, in where we have balance in the two hemispheres and can have foresight and have more ability to regulate our reactions and more access to that intuitive downloads that we all love to have. And so when we're frustrated, irritated, impatient, the stressful emotions, that creates chaos in the heart rate variability, heart rhythm pattern, or incoherent waveforms. The heart then signals the brain in 4 different ways, including through the vagal nerve, that the body is out of balance and stress, the incoherent patterns, which triggers the brain then to go into its adaptive behaviors, fight, flight, but also its anxiety habits, its fear habits, its projection habits. So if we can have a window into that process and interrupt it and come back to coherence, we come back into alignment with spirit and all the way to the quantum levels, as Anna Maria was saying, because coherence is from quantum to, particle level to the grander level.
Wow, that sounds like a book for the library. So it's called Heart Intelligence, Connecting with the Intuitive Guidance of the Heart. And as Deborah mentions, this is one of the first books by HeartMath. Anna Marie, were you coming in with something?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is also fascinating, Deborah, and you touched on this just now. And when I looked into, a little bit about what HeartMath is all about yesterday, as I was preparing, what we normally taught, and I want to see if I understand this correctly, and normally what we are being taught, when it comes to, raising your awareness, and growing in your consciousness and so on, is that we are being taught to quiet our mind. So there are all sorts of techniques to quiet the mind or to sidestep the mind and so on. And just recently I came out there, and I know that you know this business well, Steve. He's a young spiritual leader in Boulder by the name of Bentino Masaru. I refer to him as the young Eckhart Tolle, and he's also just so beautiful to look at on top of all. But anyway, in one of his videos that I watched the other day, he said something that really made a big impression on me. And what he said was that consciousness was the development of new habits. And you touched on this just now, Deborah. I love this approach because, to create new habits is not an easy thing to do, especially when we go through the mind. So what I'm understanding through you is that instead of going through the mind, is to go through the heart, and to make that a habit of going through the heart first and tapping into the rhythm of the heart. And that would make it possible for us to slow down our breathing and to come to more clear thinking and so on. I'm just thinking of the practical application of all of this, because I know that you're also talking about tools and so on that are available.
Right. You're absolutely right, Anne-Marie, and that is what we're saying, that the inner state of heart coherence is what a lot of meditation techniques, even unknowingly, even trying to go through the brain, attempt to achieve. Even mindfulness, as you observe, eventually you have to activate that loving kindness, that power of the heart the heart is what entrains the mind and brain to stillness. Mind on mind for changing habits is not strong enough. If you can try willpower, you can try all sorts of mental techniques, but unless you put your heart into it and you align and connect with that deeper place, it's not going to last very long. And, of course, the last 6 chapters of the book are all really Doc Childrey offering very simple strategies and techniques for how to shift lower attitude frequencies, how to use the heart qualities for self-transformation. And really, it's all about raising our vibration, our frequency. That affects our well-being and our health, and how to do that moment to moment. Because, you can meditate and then you go to work. I know this happens to me as well, unless I had tools to shift right in the moment. I see that email. I have an immediate reaction. If I don't pause right there and I just respond, I can spend the rest of the day regretting what I said and processing that, draining my energy, lowering my vibration. Instead, if I can get that intuitive prompter ahead of the game, so as soon as I have that reaction, my heart's guidance says, pause. And it's not a conceptual thing. It's opening to enough the heart. So it's there to give you that practical intuition as you go. Or, you catch it before or during, or sometimes it's after, but you're so tuned to that heart frequency, and it's not just a mushy, sweet Valentine's heart. It's the attunement to your own soul or spirit that's guiding you so that you save a tremendous amount of energy and stay in a higher vibratory rate or get back there quicker.
Yeah, boy, that's
that
the
is
ultimate.
So valuable and so necessary for society as well. I mean, obviously as individuals, but all of that goes right out into society. So important.
Yes, it sure is. And as you mentioned, people, when we think of heart, we grow up with thinking of like Valentine's Day, and loving people, which of course is a huge dimension of the heart, but this practical application of living and breathing in the heart, and we can tell, can't we? I can tell myself when I'm talking from the heart and really listening from the heart versus talking from my head and listening from my head, and maybe that's part of what you're training people in.
That's exactly right. How to tell the different signals and how to shift back to that authenticity in the heart. And really, it's in the language. More people are talking about the heart. Steve Jobs said, even in his commencement meet, that became so powerful. Follow your heart. It knows what you really need. I mean, it's in the vernacular because there's an energetic on the planet that's waking people up to intuitive understanding that we're trying to make more explicit through research and through practical applications and outcome assessments and all the tools that HeartMath uses to help people feel safe and secure, connecting more with that heart, because it's not just Valentine's, it's who they really are.
Yeah, boy, so true. And he, in his speech, he said, in matters of the heart, and then blah, 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 and of course said, follow your passion, etc. But what's interesting is in our Conscious Business Initiative, what we're seeing is that everything is a matter of the heart. So it's not just some things that are a matter of the heart. We're realizing in business, some of the recent conversations with faculty, is that we need to bring these practices of the heart into daily work and not just to-do lists and action lists and, you need to do X, Y, Z. It needs to be people are going to leave that environment. Millennials are pushing back on that. Other people, I think, are resisting that. What is coming into this evolutionary tornado now is this whole aspect of everything is life is living from the heart and treating people in ways that the heart suggests. Would you agree with that, Deb?
It's very practical. We call it business heart. So we, in our programs for business, HeartMath training programs, will give pre- and post-assessments that are normed and validated and have 4 dimensions. People are evaluating their interactions with their boss, their comfort with others, their productivity, their performance, all of the dimensions as well as their health. And then they practice the heart coherence techniques that we teach them. We give them a little practice plan. We say it's business heart because some of our tools and techniques are really about using that heart-brain alignment to determine your to-do list. If we have a process called heart mapping, and you just eliminate a lot of wasted time and energy and garbage as you do a brain dump and your to-do list, and then you go to the heart and you access your heart intelligence and looking through a different window at what you're doing. And we taught that in Motorola some years ago to their Emerging Technologies Division, and they increased their patent filing by 3 times in 3 months just by that, and they were more fulfilled. They're more fulfilled and happier because you're more aligned with that creative intelligence and having fun with it rather than all the wasted time and energy through mental processing and emotional reactivity and stress and strain and overwhelm. It goes on.
Yeah, that's the beautiful thing. Yeah, because the peace and bliss and all of these things that we want to experience individually occurs, and as well, all of the magic in business occurs because where we're really working together this way, collaboratively with our teams and with our customers and our whole ecosystem around the business. Of course, people love it. It's the missing ingredient, and it creates an opportunity for businesses to grow quite rapidly with the kinds of employees they want, customers that really appreciate it, on and on. But I don't want to go too off in the businessy direction here. Lots of wonderful comments coming in. One is, "This is wonderful. Open heart, clear mind." So, Monica, agree with that.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense.
One comment from South Africa, actually, Anna Marie. This is from Bukala in South Africa. He says, "I cannot listen online. I live on the other side of the world. Can I listen to a replay later? And if so, how long?" And yes, the programs, of course, are free, and then we send out a thank you after the program, good for 48 hours free listening. So absolutely, where somebody's in another part of the world, they can listen in the next 48 hours at their leisure. There's some other questions that I'll get to here shortly too, but let me just come back on your worldwide Facebook page, Deborah. There is a reference to your heart blueprint, which I think connects with this whole discussion that we've been having. It talks about how we can access our heart blueprint. Can you talk a little about that?
Sure. Well, if you look at everybody has a purpose. People are looking for their purpose and their sense of direction in life. And on a higher dimensional level, there's a blueprint for everything. You might say computers. Well, there was a blueprint for that, and somebody who invented that or invented anything was accessing information in the information realm, which is another dimension, and a blueprint of that. So when we can access more of our higher intelligence, and the pathway that we found for that is when you synchronize heart and brain rhythms in coherence, then the signal from the heart to the brain goes to the frontal lobes and goes to balancing the right and left hemispheres. We have access more to what feels right to our heart, meaning we start on a path where we start to hear our heart's intuitive guidance from our higher self that starts to unfold our higher blueprint in terms of how we perceive life and the choices we make. Right now, the choices we make are so important to our health, to our wellness, to our fulfillment, or to our stress. Stress is increasing everywhere. If you go back to the heart and the power of the heart, you can come back into alignment. That aligns you more to unfold in steps and stages your purpose, but that unfolds through the choices you make moment to moment. And we start to feel and look back and see the blueprint of our life and how it got us to wherever we are right now. And we can avoid having to go around the block or on the merry-go-round so much as we shift back to heart coherence. So look at that as a way to reboot your system, reset, and get back into attunement with what you're supposed to be doing. And your purpose unfolds as you raise your vibration and go make moment-to-moment choices that are heart-aligned.
Yeah, boy, beautiful again. I just love the science and research that you put around all of this to lead people back to healthy processes. It's just awesome. Let me bring in a question here, and then I'm going to get to another question that's from Ken Wilber's work. Anna Marie, you're probably going to want to come in on that too. But this is a question from Lloyd in Burnsville. I'm not sure what part of the world that is, but Lloyd says, I've seen studies that show that stress reduction practices in business have been used to effectively absolve management from the responsibility to create more humane workplaces and to make employees responsible for reducing their stress levels. It has not been about changing the consciousness and goals of business. The reason for introducing the stress management practice is almost always to increase the bottom line. What has been your experience working in business with HeartMath? Have you found specific approaches that open individuals and companies to consideration of the greater good?
Well, that's an important question. Again, most of the time when we're brought into companies, and I think this is true of any transformational practice, you find a champion at a leadership level who already is aware that stress is hurting productivity and health and performance, and it doesn't feel good. It's not a happy workplace. You don't have satisfied employees, so they bring you in to help with that. Now, it doesn't go beyond that as far as a culture shift in the organization unless the leadership embraces it. And so the higher up you go in an organization in reaching leaders, then having them come to understand that this is for themselves but for their organizations, and that it's going to actually help them achieve what they want rather than a healthier and more productive company, and that can improve the bottom line rather than some relaxed, spaced-out employees that aren't productive, which is the old paradigm fear. And again, heart coherence is not a relaxation state only. It's a high-performance state. If you look at the waveform of heart coherence, it's different than the frequency waveform of relaxation. And relaxation is wonderful, but it's not a high-performing state. So when we show that research saying, coherence is present, it's alert, it has sympathetic nervous system activation and parasympathetic, which is the relaxation response, combined, so you're relaxed and energized and resilient. And that is a state of optimal performance. I mean, a lot of sports teams are using this now. A leader can hear that without being threatened. So the real answer to your question is to change the cultures, we have to work at the highest level of leadership we can, because it will affect their downline. If we can work at the CEO level, that's fantastic. If you can't, you work at the VP level, whatever level you can to influence the people that leader is influencing. And when they can understand that there's no threat to this, to what their goals are, then you can bring business into a new level of alignment. And that's when you see the culture change. And we've demonstrated this mostly in hospital systems where the CEO is very aware of the link between stress and health or stress and performance. And we can measure it through our assessments. So that gives them more security. But the key of care and love in transforming business is to provide and understand your client and what makes them insecure. And if you can facilitate that, then they can open to the heart and to these processes.
Yeah, boy, so important to find sponsorship higher in a business that where leaders are getting behind this real shift in consciousness and see that a shift in the way that the business is led, that the culture of the business, the whole vision and purpose for the business, that's what it's really about. And, of course, that is this whole conscious business initiative that I've brought in. I'm going to mention a little bit about that at the end of the program. But, Lloyd, you might want to go to conscioussbusinessdeclaration.org. You'll see this declaration. You might want to read it and sign it. There are only 7 principles. It's short. The second principle says, in line with this reality, which is that we're all one, the purpose of business is to increase economic prosperity while contributing to a healthy environment and improving human well-being. And one of the things that we see together with our NGO partners that put this declaration together is that business right now is stuck in this just old paradigm of where it's focused almost exclusively on profit. For the last year, globally, business is just kind of going sideways. Our belief is that's going to continue, that the upside of that model has already come in, and so people can either sit in that model or they can start thinking of these new models that create a new kind of prosperity that's beyond just financial prosperity for the business and their communities and for the planet. And we think that's where it's going. We think that an evolutionary tornado is already set down, and the business is moving in this direction, and time will hospice that old mission, which is to focus almost exclusively on profit. But let's come back to just some questions here. Deborah, we've heard that Ken Wilber speak of the neuroplasticity of the brain, and now notice that the term is also used in terms for the heart. Can you share with us what this means and the implications for our heart and the physical and emotional levels?
Yes, of course. We're talking about, before I go into that, the health. This is all about oneness and health. And the fact that so many people are out of sync and the heart and brain are not in sync, and they're having stress problems and health problems, that's actually helping people wake up to we have to do something different, including leaders in business. It's often their health problems that's opening people to the heart. And the heart has its own complex nervous system. It actually has its own little brain. And what's so amazing is this wasn't discovered by neurocardiologists until the 1990s. And most cardiologists, even today, that I talk to or that come down, don't even know that. They're like blown away to find out the heart has its own intrinsic nervous system that's independent from the brain and the head. And that nervous system within the heart sends far more information to the cranial brain than the brain sends back to the heart. So there's a whole paradigm shift there where everyone thought neuroplasticity is totally in the brain controls the heart. It's actually a two-way process, and the heart is actually sending its rhythmic signals, its blood pressure waves. All this contains information. It's energetic waves, electromagnetic waves that it puts out with every heartbeat that contain information like radio about how we're feeling to the brain. So as we modify, as we activate the power of the heart, this heart-brain is these neurons have been shown to learn, feel, sense, remember. Remember, they're independent of the head brain. We start to open and activate that brain. It has neuroplasticity just like every neuron does, and it is now powering up the ability for the changes in our head brain. And in fact, the core cells, and get this is exciting, of the amygdala, which is the emotional memory center in the brain that really holds all of the traumatic memories, the anxiety habits, the fears, the stress, how deeply they're imprinted. The core cells in that amygdala are synchronized to the heartbeat. So when you're feeling stressed, frustrated, irritation, anxious, the normal stressful emotions we all have from time to time, anger, that incoherent signal in the heartbeat rhythm is matched in the amygdala, the core cells, and then it throws up to our memory, our awareness, the last time we felt fear, and we repeat the fear or the anxiety habit or the irritation habit or the impatience habit, and we get into a closed, stuck loop. Now, as we learn to shift to heart rhythm coherence, the core cells of the amygdala, which synchronize to whatever the heart's doing, the heartbeat is doing, move into that heart coherent waveform. And then it's easier to shift emotional state and feel care or gratitude or love and appreciation, and you power up your heart, make those attitude shifts and have them stick. And then the amygdala starts to repattern. And the heart-brain is a key facilitator in this process. The heart intelligence comes in, and it all works together. So you're really bringing spirit into humanness. It's a pathway that consciousness can enter into humanness through the heart-brain and its communication with the head-brain to power up this neuroplasticity so that we really can clear ourselves of the old programs and become more connected with our higher self and who we are and have that flow through our body.
Yeah, Gus, your work is just so amazing because there's so much practical application here, and that can help people kind of go from this one place where we're head-centered to this other place where we're heart-centered. Anna Marie, I'm guessing you want to come in here and comment on this.
Oh, yes. Yeah, absolutely. I have a question for Deborah as well. You mentioned a book that she wrote, so I want to ask Deborah a question about that. But first I want to just add a little bit here about what has been said. And again, we go back to Ken Wilber. In his superhuman operating system, Deborah, he talks about three important aspects to our development and evolution. And those are the aspects of waking up, growing up, and cleaning up. And I was trying to figure out how the heart, comes into play in all of this. And the way I see it is that I can see that heart is so central to all of this. When you think, because it's so important to wake up, it's an important aspect of our whole process of moving on in life. And I can see that when we have this aha experience, that you discover something, that aha experience comes through the heart. And also, the growing up part, I can see that, the patience of the heart. It is the patience of the heart that allows us to grow up and to become stronger. So that, the growing up process is a slowing down process. So we can see how the heart is involved in all of that. And then also with regards to cleaning up, what comes to mind for me is this whole, I can see that our being is cleansed with purified blood that flows through it. So I can see how heart is involved in all of these processes. I wanted to add that. But then I come to the question of, Steve mentioned that you wrote a book about meditation for children. Can you share a little bit about that? How do we make this possible for children to tap into their heart intelligence and their heart space? And what, for example, would be a good age?
So I wrote that book in the 70s. It became a bestseller because it was the first time that anyone had written anything about how to teach children to meditate, when the meditation was just starting to become more popular in the 70s among people beginning to wake up, the boomers of the time. And I had my own spiritual experience and just wished, I was in my 20s then, and I wished that I had learned to meditate as a child, because I wouldn't have to spend the next 20 years cleaning up what my first 20 years of life, which, by the way, were a very good 20 years. And, a lot of people have much more trauma than that. And I used a lot of different meditation methods in that I did, and I researched it. I got my master's thesis actually around that, and teaching it and trying it in public schools and working with hyperactive children to see what would work. And then when I started getting involved with HeartMath, I revised the book, and this was in the 90s. So I shifted all the meditations to the heart. Once I saw this research, I went, wow, everything's got to start with the heart, especially with children, because you go into a classroom and you ask children, who are they and where are they located? They all point to their heart. They don't point to their head. We don't say, I love you with all my brain. We say, I love you with all my heart.
Oh, my goodness.
And, that says it all right there. And so children really relate. Their challenges is nobody's ever taught them how to manage their emotional skills. They go back to their heart very quick. They cry, someone took my toy. They come back and they've made up, like in 2 minutes, and they're off playing. And adults, we might not speak to that person for 20 years. And so these rigidities that form as the ego form because of a focus on the mind-brain without enough heart input. So at HeartMath, we started a whole program, a whole series of early heart smarts, and now we're making it digital, calling Smart Brain, Wise Heart, programs for children at preschool right through college. And so we have our training programs and certified instructors in over 1,000 schools. And we have programs for children at every age and very simple tools of how to know when you're in your heart, when you're out of your heart, how to get back to your heart. And children, our heart coherence technology, which is called the M-Wave, Empowerment Wave, it stands for, where you get to see your heart rhythm change in real time. We have an inner balance for the iPhone, so you can do it on your iPhone and you get to see it in real time.
My goodness.
And when children get on that, they can get to the high coherence level so quick. It turns green. A light turns green when you're in high coherence. And there's 4 challenge levels. But it's hard for them to stay there. So even like when we work with children and helping them learn the techniques like heart-focused breathing and how to find something to feel grateful for and breathe that feeling at a certain rhythm, they can get there so much faster than most adults. And then we have fun little games that operate on your heart coherence level in the M-Wave 2 product, and they play those games to make the bunny kiss the deer, but they have to raise their coherence to do that. And the stories that come back, and this is like social emotional learning where they come back, they're centered. I didn't get angry at my mom. I was able to not, when someone bullied me, I was able to speak for myself. And it's the core of what children need is emotional self-regulation skills to open up their higher heart. So, we had to do a lot of work on that.
Yeah, it's just amazing that all of this is available today. It is so huge. I came across a beautiful, and it was so apt that I came across it today. It's a quotation by Albert Einstein, and he says, "It is possible that human emanations exist that are still unknown to us. Do you remember how electrical currents and unseen waves were laughed at? The knowledge about man is still in its infancy." And, here we are talking about these incredible science and technology and tools that are available for children. We never had this when we were growing up, and just see where we are today and how we can influence the world, and we really do.
Absolutely. Well, a lot of people know about HeartMath, but a lot don't. And it's not just us, but others, validated techniques. And we've been very, very much in the trenches, as we say, proving these out in the densest parts of society. There's people working with Syrian refugees in the camps to bring these techniques to them to have a little more ease and peace as they go through their struggles.
Yes.
You probably don't know there's a HeartMath South Africa. We have a licensee there that trains in companies.
Well, that is fantastic. No, I did not know. So I will definitely be in contact with them, because I'm also working very much with around social cohesion here in South Africa, and I can immediately see how, because especially when you work in big groups and you're working with people who are from different cultures and so on, just immediately, you feel that separation, and we're all in the mind. And the big question is, how do you break down those barriers, especially when you just get into conversation and, getting to open up to one another, and you're wanting to get to a place where you're eventually going to do something together. But how will you do something together if you were not even able to connect with one another for a start?
Right, and the key to that we found, and this is very exciting to me, I'm passionate about this aspect of our work and social coherence, is you have to you give people these simple tools or the technology. Sometimes they need that to see it and prove it to themselves, where they see heart coherence. They get into that heart coherent rhythm. You demonstrate what that is for themselves. First, you have to get aligned within, and everybody wants to do that. Once that happens, that you're connected with your own heart, then you turn to somebody else and you're connected in the heart. The only way the dysfunction of all these social groups that are trying to help the world, whether it's environmental or business or health, it has to get to that heart connection. And that starts with first within ourselves, and then that connection can happen with others, because our research is also showing the heart puts out an electromagnetic field. And if we're judging or blaming or just separate based on culture or history, we're actually putting out an incoherent waveform with every heartbeat, and it can be picked up in the brain waves of people standing a few feet away, not even touching. And as we shift to heart rhythm coherence, that's picked up in the brain waves of people around us. So you can create a heart coherent field environment that's measurable in a room, and that helps dissolve the separation. People start to perceive differently. And so, because you can spend a whole morning together, and you were trying to get somewhere, and you walk out of a gathering like that, and you really sense that, we touched on so many things, but we just didn't make it. You just feel that it's going to take another session and another session, because what was missing was the heart. Exactly.
Yeah, we're so aligned with that in Humanities team. When we created our programs, we were founded back in 2003. But the first step was always to focus on our own inner journey, and then the spiritual activism, because it's this whole as within, so without thing that the inner world actually is creating the outer world. And where where inner journey doesn't find its place or time, and we just go straight to spiritual activism. We're just a bunch of talking heads, and people
That's
can feel
exactly
into that.
Right.
We really don't accomplish anything at all. So.
I had visitors yesterday here from a environmental group in Hawaii, and they were like, "We're trying to save the reefs, and we can't even get the different environmental groups to work together. They're just won't even talk to. Some won't even talk to each other." I said, and they were really in pain because they think climate change is, going backwards now. And I said, it's not about HeartMath is inside everybody. We don't own HeartMath. We're just the researchers and experimenters and trying to make it evident to people and the tools that are within each person to access the power and intelligence of their own heart. We all have it within us. And I said, and until that becomes the priority, nothing is going to change, because that's the cosmic design. We are all connected in the heart.
Yeah, boy, so true. And by the way, we are now just only 5 minutes to go, so I'm going to go to other. I want to go to some programs that this call could easily have gone a couple hours.
Right.
Just
so
much wisdom here. Just amazing. Really, let me invite people. If you haven't friended HeartMath on Facebook, go friend them. HeartMath. You'll see these devices for kids and adults that Deborah and Anna Marie were talking about earlier. You can actually read about them, acquire them that way. And your website, Deborah, what website can people go to
They can go to heartmath.com and for the product, for the training programs, and to learn more about HeartMath and the technology that I was talking about. And for the research or the children's programs, heartmath.org. And they can learn more about the Global Coherence Initiative there, too, where we're doing research on our connectivity with Earth and the interconnectivity of how the Earth's fields affect us and we can affect the fields.
Yes, that's an important initiative, the Global Coherence Initiative. So invite everyone on this call to go to the HeartMath site and read about it and join that initiative if that resonates for you. Let me just thank you so much here, Dr. Deborah Rozman and Anna Marie Peters, my partner in these Oneness and 12 Spheres of Life calls. Wow, just truly an amazing hour, extraordinary.
Yes, fantastic.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. I'm going to come back and thank you some more, but let me just get to some announcements here. Next Thursday, June 16th, I'm going to be interviewing Dr. Kurt Johnson. He was the right-hand man to Wayne Teasdale before he passed and was a monk. He was a monk for 5 years, worked closely with Ken Wilber, Steve McIntosh, Father Thomas Keating, Vice President Gore, and Eckhart Tolle. He's also the author of a book called The Coming Interspiritual Age. That call is at 9 a.m. Pacific time, Los Angeles time, Thursday next week. I invite you to join us for that. And then the following week, on Wednesday, not Thursday, usually the calls are Thursdays, but on Wednesday, June 22nd, I'll be interviewing Gene Houston. The program is called Electing Yourself and gets into brilliant ideas on how we can deepen our personal responsibility for ourselves and the world around us without giving our power away to officials we may or may not agree with. That call is at 1 o'clock Pacific time, Los Angeles time, so different day, different time. Wednesday, the week after next at 1 o'clock Pacific time. If you go to livinginone.com, you can read about all of our coming programs. Most weeks we have a program. Of course, the programs are free, and if you miss the live program, you can listen to the replay for free for 48 hours. I want to mention, I talked about the Conscious Business Declaration earlier, Humanity's team and 3 other NGOs, the Club of Budapest, based out of Europe, the Goy Peace Foundation, based out of Japan, and the Fowler Center for Business out of Case Western Reserve University, did create the Conscious Business Declaration. It defines a whole new standard for business in the 21st century. It shares that we must move beyond profit as the exclusive focus to profits that comes from nurturing humanity and life on the planet. And if you go to consciousbizDeclaration.org, you can learn more about it. If you resonate with it, we invite you to sign it. If you're a business person, to put somebody through training to bring your business into this conscious business realm, and even to become an ambassador for it. We send out slides and things to people that want to be an ambassador for the Conscious Business Declaration. This program is focused on living in oneness, so I also want to invite you to be part of something Humanity's team created called Community Circle. It's only $10 a month, and it's for those who wish to be part of an intentional community committed to living and embodying oneness, those who want to collaborate and connect with leaders engaged in spiritual activism, a community that gives and receives support, and a program that gives you access to all of our audio links for the Living in Oneness Summit, Global Oneness Day, and more. There are over 350 programs that you and your families can listen to anytime, anywhere. Also, there's a program now each week for Community Circle members. It's sometimes Friday afternoons, sometimes Saturday mornings, where we come together to talk about our individual, our very personal journey in oneness. It's an extraordinary new program that is part of this whole Community Circle thing. Again, it's just $10 a month. We made it very affordable so people all over the world can participate. If you go to humanitiesteam.org and scroll down, you'll see the Community Circle rectangle there. You can click on it to read more. Okay, so I'm going to come back. Thank you again, Dr. Deborah Rozman with HeartMath, Anna Marie Peters, the key leader in Humanity's team. Thank you so much for being part of this call. It's an amazing call. I also want to thank my colleagues here, Nanette Kennedy, Dee Meyer, Penny Heifel, Monica Augustine, and Garth Catterall. These people work together to plan and produce this program. So thank you so much. And then last and definitely not least, each of you, the listeners who are here that make it a priority to be part of these programs each week. Thank you so much for being here. And in closing, I want to invite everyone on the call to really live as one with the divine and each other. This is ultimate reality. And, of course, this is one of the best ways to spread the invitation of oneness. And it's how we'll create the world we've all dreamed about and envisioned. As we know, we already are all one. So let's embody this. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see you next Thursday, June 16th at 9 o'clock Pacific time when we're back on the air. Okay, take care, everybody. Take care, Deborah. Look forward to being in touch with you.
Thank you, Deborah.
Take care, Anna Marie.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
talk soon, everybody.
Bye-bye.